What mostly happens is from across the street, somebody yells, "Hey, it's the ice cream man!" When you get drawn into conversation, I don't know, some people can't help themselves when they mention Butterbrickle. I get it from time to time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I have to say, you have such a vast majority of work. You've been described as a chameleon of sorts, and that has to be such a big compliment. So what does that mean to you to be described as an acting chameleon?
Well, am I blending in with this chair? I don't know, an acting chameleon. Listen, I just try to do a good job. I make every effort, every day of employment, to give it my best, and that was delivered to me by my mom and dad. My dad especially. I mean, both my mom and dad are gone, but my dad, he was the one that was the one with us on the set. He was the one that really guided us. He was like a child actor whisperer. And so he instilled not show business tricks. There's no trick to show business. You work hard, you listen, you pay attention, be prepared. I think one advantage I had as a child is I started so young, the lessons were very fundamental, and very simple. And those lessons have not changed over the years. I was very fortunate to be successful early on, and I just have kept repeating it. And what I learned, my acting knowledge is to relax, get into the moment, bring myself into that character, and listen. Really listen. Now that doesn't mean in every moment of my acting career I've always listened. But it's one of those things, it's a fallback thing. Am I struggling with a character? Am I struggling with a moment? Am I fumbling with dialogue? Well, it's funny how if you just stop, slow down, and listen, things start to fall into place. And that is a tool that I learned from way before I remember. Because I started acting when I was 2 years old. So I don't have any memories. I don't really have any pure memories of me working as an actor until I was about 5 or 6. So these are all things that I just learned by osmosis. And also another thing for just the acting geeks out there, everybody in life is motivated by something at every moment. There's always a reason. And as a child, it was simply, well, Clint, why are you going into the scene? Why are you saying this? Are you trying to get something from your parents? What is your intention with the scene? So kind of always understanding what the motive of my behavior is at the time is always a great trigger for me to get into that moment and be honest.
And you, of course, are one of the few actors that have gotten to be part of Star Trek and Star Wars. So can you tell us a little bit about, Galaxy Far, Far Away and also Space, the Final Frontier?
Well, as far as a galaxy far, far away, I found out that Ron was going to replace these directors and direct solo, and I was excited for him. And Ron and I have a wonderful, close relationship. But my goodness, Ron was stepping into a position where they had already been filming for like 70 some odd days. So in my mind, I thought, well, the cloth is cut here. The actors have all been hired. There's going to be nothing for me to do. And then Ron gave me a call, and it's always a lovely phone call to get from my brother. And he goes, I think there might be something in this one for me. And he actually told me later, he didn't even suggest it. It was Kathleen Kennedy is the one that when they were having their initial meetings, there was a sequence that they were going to have to redo, which meant they were going to have to recast this role. And Kathleen Kennedy said, well, this might be a really good spot for your brother. And Ron was, of course, tickled that he didn't have to, well, he doesn't. Ron does not strong-arm me into his films. It's only if I can fit. Listen, I consider Ron, first of all, he's a great older brother. He's an awesome older brother. He's a Hall of Fame film director. But he's the director, and I am just an Indian. working, you know? And if he can find a spot for me, I certainly will do it. Well, this character, Keeley, came up, and as he described it to me over the phone from London, it was something I go, yeah, I can play that guy. I think originally, as it was described, I was Mickey from Rocky, the grizzled old trainer, except instead of training a fighter, I was training a robot. And that's what Ron pitched me the idea, and I said, sure, bud, I can do it. You know, I certainly want to jump on an airplane and go be in Star Wars. And just a little side note here, I auditioned for Luke Skywalker back in about 1975. Yes, in fact, I remember really vividly. It was we were auditioning. It was a big open audition. They were seeing dozens and dozens of actors that day. They were probably seeing hundreds of actors over the course of a few weeks to see. And it was like an open call. And it was at 20th Century Fox Studios, and we were waiting outside. And I remember seeing Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill was like going to be coming in a little bit later. And I had been given the sides. Now, this is long before there was any videotape, anything digital. There were no, what do they call it? You know, you do it from home. The auditions, you do it from home. So, you know, everybody went in and read, and I got the sides, and I'm going to play this character, Luke Skywalker. And I went into the room. I saw Francis Coppola in the room. Now, Francis had already done The Godfathers. It's like, Jesus, Francis is in the room, you know. And now Ron had already been in American Graffiti. So I knew that they knew me. But there was, Francis Coppola was in the room. There was a veteran film producer, Fred Roos, was in the room. There was another guy, Gino Havens, in the room. And I didn't see George. George was in a big leather chair about this big, and it was the back, he was turned away from me. And as I walked into the room and got ready to stand in front of the desk, George Lucas swung his chair around, and I saw him, and he looked at me, and he went, "Commander Baylock, the Corbinite maneuver." And in my mind, I said, George, get a friggin' life. See, you gotta understand, I did my Star Trek appearance, my first Star Trek appearance, when I was about 6 years old. And I considered myself a baby. I was a baby. You know, and here I was competing for a major role as an adult. And the last thing I wanted the director to do was look at me and say, I remember you when you were a baby. That's why I said, get a friggin' life, George. I didn't say it. I thought it. Now, as it turns out, George had a pretty good life. You know, but that was, you know, and that was way before Star Trek was ever being syndicated. That was, I mean, George got his inspiration from science fiction from Star Trek. And hence, I did my first episode of Star Trek. It aired the season in 1966. And I presently have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 versions of Star Trek television shows that have been aired. And I can't say anything. But they're doing a season of a show called Strange New Worlds. Yeah. And you know, they're going to do, I think it's an episode, they're starting out with doing 10 episodes a season. And it's pretty exciting, and all I can say is stay tuned, folks.
Okay. Like that?
And wait, now one thing about the world of Star Trek, I did it when I was a child, right? A Corbinite maneuver, fun, great experience. And then when they started doing the television series, we got word, when I say we, it was myself and my agent, got word that they were not seeing anybody that had been on the original, you know, Star Trek, the original show. They weren't seeing anybody for Next Generation. And they weren't seeing anybody for Deep Space Nine that had been on Star Trek. So it was like, you know, okay, I would like to be on the show, but If they have a policy of not having any actors like, that have been on previously, I understand. Well, my agent called me, and this was during Deep Space Nine. Called me and said, listen, I got you an audition for Deep Space Nine. And I said to him, I go, well, I don't think they're gonna hire me because they have a policy of not hiring any old actors. They've probably forgotten about that. So I auditioned and got the role. I played a character named Brady in it was called Past Tense. It was on Deep Space Nine, and I did that, and then I did Enterprise, and then I did Discovery. So far, there it is.
That's amazing. And I know you were recently